first on the list is Lee Geist. Would you like to speak? He said no. Okay.
I just have a question, is that, Wendy just mentioned that airport money can't go anywhere else. Does that apply to the industrial site also? Money coming from those has to stay there?
By internal policies, yes. We have stated in our comp plan that all properties are self-sustaining, but that obviously can be changed by commission direction. Unfortunately for Sanderson Field, that's a higher power that we don't
Yeah.
get to tell.
So I guess that begs the question, has any money from the marina gone elsewhere to any other entity in the resort? Or in also, has consideration been made to talk to the City of Shelton partnership? The port took the boat ramp back, or took the boat ramp at one point, and there's been no effort to do anything with it. And that was a city-owned entity. What about all the public infrastructure down there? This floating restroom that can only be used by the North Dock, and the public dock that invites the public to use it in a private partnership. What happens with that? So that's my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Norm, you wanted to speak?
Just a kind of question. The port has a 50-year agreement with the DNR to manage the facilities unilaterally, which is a combination of city property and port property and DNR property. They're including the uplands. That's probably about 20 years into its existence. And in the state of Washington, if you own the land under the water, you have the right to control the use of the water above. State law provides for that. So you actually have an ownership down there that's a combination of city and port and DNR. And of course, you have an agreement with the city to manage their streets, which extend out underneath in the flat there underneath. So in your alternatives, if you lease the thing to somebody, I would think your agreement would be okay. But if you sold it, you might have a problem with the agreement. However it's written with the DNR, right? So I don't know if you consider that in any way, but that is a factor there that you have to think about. So.
Okay, thank you. Mike Byrne.
Yes. I'm going to use the podium if you don't
Sure.
mind. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Mike Byrne. I'm a taxpayer in the district, Port District, and I also am a tenant at the Marina. I have been for, 40 years, something like that. I would like to take my time to address Alternative 1, sell the Marina. I have some points there, and mostly questions. And Norm just stole half my thunder, so I'm going to repeat some of what he said. In selling the Marina as Alternative 1, you need to address the leased lands under the Marina. You have DNR, as Norm mentioned, the city, and I believe, I'm not sure about this, but I think Simpson even owns some lots that are under the Marina. So you have leased lands there, and you need to deal with that. And if you sell the Marina, how are you going to handle those leases from other agencies? Being a public facility, you can deal with the other public agencies. And in doing so, you do have a leverage on what you can do down there in terms of the land under the Marina. When your program says we want to sell the Marina, it's more complex than that. So that's a consideration. Also, in selling the Marina, not only the land under the Marina, but I assume it would include the parking lot. Is that true? Parking lot would have to go to it, with it, because without the parking lot, you would not meet the city requirements for parking for the marina. So you have the parking lot area, which is a lot into itself, and you have the leased platted lots that were platted years and years ago by the Army Corps of Engineers under the marina and then leased out. You also have a single lot sandwiched in the middle, and it's the lot number 9 that was platted by the Army Corps years and years ago. It's a separate lot, and it is leased to the Shelton Yacht Club. And the Shelton Yacht Club, which has been mentioned by other people, historically has been there since around 1950. They built the building. They possessed the building, but in the lease the Shelton Yacht Club has, they don't really own the building, because if they leave, the building is turned over to the port. But the yacht club currently operates that building, maintains that building, and pays a lease to the port. The yacht club has no connection to the marina. There's a lot of confusion in the community about what the yacht club does down at the marina. They simply are a group that leases a plot of land, and they have a building that they maintain, and that's it. So you have lot 9 in the middle. Now, if my question is if you sell the marina and you are able to transact agreements with these leases and able to sell those and transfer them, however that happens, and you sell the parking lot, will you sell lot 9? Is that included in the sale of the marina as you displayed it here?
Good question.
Is that a no?
I mean, nothing's been, we're just discussing, so I don't know that anything's, gone to that point. I think
When
anything's open,
So when you say you're going to sell the marina, does that include lot 9, the lease that you have with the Shelton Yacht Club?
Again, I
You
don't
don't-
think we
you don't
haven't
have
discussed it
that?
that far.
Going
that far. Haven't got that far. I think it would be potential to a buyer and
Right.
what their interest was, if there was a buyer.
So the buyer, there would be someone who would buy that? That would be included in the sale? I'm not,
It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a buyer or anything for it right now, so.
no, I know you don't.
Yeah, right, but it's
Good luck
it's
on that one.
possible. Yeah, I know.
But that was the question, whether
Yeah.
if you sell the marina, are you selling all those
Yeah,
parcels?
I would doubt that
As
if
a
we
package.
did sell, I would doubt that we would carve out lot 9 and hold on to
Right.
that. I would doubt that.
Doubt that.
But again, we haven't discussed it in that
You
detail.
wouldn't carve it out?
Would not.
We would not.
Probably
Probably
not.
I would think it would be a package, all
Yeah.
of that. yeah.
And to probably complicate that even further, you have at least a 30-year lease for the Shelton Yacht Club, and you have at least 15 years left for that lease for the Shelton Yacht Club. So how would that be negotiated if you sold it to someone? Would you transfer that? Would we still have that lease? Would you cancel that lease? And what would you, is that the way you would do that?
Those are all great questions. Yeah, that would all be part of an agreement.
Okay,
I have no idea right now how that would be handled.
okay. So the other thing is that you make a statement on alternative 1 that could change the current marina configurations. That's a very big issue. If the sale of the marina takes place, you don't know, you don't have a buyer, you don't know who's going to buy it. And in this community, if it was within this community, there's a couple of agencies or options that might buy into it. If you look at the community as a whole, they have the shellfish industry, for example, may have an interest. Just as an example, if that happens, the marina could take on a completely different configuration in which it would double or triple the number of flupsies down there, as an example. It would completely take out the recreational portion of the marina. It would completely take away the public access to the marina. The public access to the marina on a sale and to privatize it is a huge issue, in my opinion. We have an asset down there that belongs to the public. it's operated by the taxpayers, 14,000 plus taxpayers. And that marina is an asset to the community. And we need to begin to look at the marina as an asset to the community. And it's not, as I point up here, it's not just a marina for a very few people, for 106 slips. It's a marina for the community. There's even been, in the past, ideas to connect Shelton to the marina with a parkway down the highway there. We got all excited about that in the past, and I think it will come about one day. We will connect the marina to the city of Shelton, and that will be an asset for the city of Shelton and for the tourism that comes into the city. Not every community has a marina. I think that we should extend our outreach, and you should have another, an additional, you were asking for additional priorities or priorities, I guess you'd call them. You were asking for additional ones. I think one of them should be for you to have a stronger outreach to the community, a much stronger outreach to the community. And that would be the city of Shelton, which its population is what, 11,000 now, and the 14,000 in the district, which the 10,000 is included, I understand. But the 14,000 people, that's the community you should be reaching out to, and make this a community project to save that marina. I think you can do it, but I don't think it's going to get done in these meetings that we're having here. I applaud you for that, and I know you're going through that process, which you need to do, and I think it's a good step forward. But you can't hand out a card in a crowd of 10, 15, 20 and get a sensible feel for what the community, what that piece of pie in our community would mean to us 20 years from now. So I guess what I'm asking is we need to expand the outreach, and of course, and I know you don't like to hear this, but you might go to those 6 or 7,000 parcels out there that generates $700,000 for the, is that correct, Wendy? About $700,000. The tax base provides around $700,000. What about a levy, a 1%, 2%, 3% levy that you could incur and go to those 14,000 people? I have a home in Shelton. You have to kind of excuse me, I'm just getting over that flu. I have a home in Shelton that has an evaluation of about $230,000. I pay $84 a year to the port tax. I would be more than willing to pay $50, $60 more dollars in that section to save that marina, even more. I can go out, we can go out to dinner one night a year and pay for that levy. Now, saying that 240,000 is an average, you would generate somewhere in the neighborhood of close to $300,000, plus the income from the marina, which is, give me a number, Wendy, 100,000, 150,000, something along that line.
350 is.
Your income, yeah. So if you add on that say you get a tax levy of whatever percentage you would suggest, it wouldn't take much. You could get $280,000, $300,000 plus your income. Let's say you can take in $500,000 a year. Now that changes the picture right away. Now you're not going to pay the $2.8 million, and I don't think that you should even try to do that. Some time back, I suggested 10 years ago to the port that when this began to be discussed, and I told the port manager at that time that you are never going to get $5 million. Because I understand that of your finances and what you have to put up with. But you're not going to get $5 million to build this marina. So why don't you start this year with a plan and build over the next 10 years, and you will have a marina in 10 years. Well, 12 years has gone by, and here we are. There was no plan. There was no physical plan, even though there were suggestions of such. There was no financial plan. What we need to do is set up a long-term financial plan, and it would obviously, with your numbers that you presented, would require a tax levy. Now, can we convince 14,000 people to pull $50 a year or so out of their wallet to save that marina? I think that's a huge consideration. If I just have one more minute, Commissioner. I put this little sheet away one year that was actually put out by the Port of Shelton. And they had a very interesting article, and I won't read it all. There's a couple paragraphs I think connects the idea that this community, you need to, as a port, expand your thinking beyond, we are here just to provide jobs. And that's a good goal, that is your goal. But we need to think outside that just a little bit for the community and save what we have. But this article was written in 2015, and it was taken from Eric Johnson, who is an executive director of the Washington Public Ports Association. That was 2015.
Still is.
And the first paragraph, and a little history lesson for you. More than 100 years ago, the state of Washington did something very historical. The state legislators took back control of the state's docks and harbors from one of the most powerful industries then in existence, the private railroads. This was a radical approach and quite novel for the times, as most harborside facilities in Washington, major cities, were owned not only by the railroads, but by other businesses that had little interest in cooperating with the public. And then they go on to say about how in 1911 the Washington State Legislature passed legislation that allowed the ports to take control of those areas. And he states that we have a tool to manage some of our most precious assets. And the whole idea of his article is that the railroads didn't give a damn about the public. But now that this became a public entity, we can reach out to the public, and we can serve the public with that. And so the article was very timely, I thought, so I thought I'd just pass that on. In closing, I just want to say we have an asset that nobody else, very few people have. Once you sell it, it's gone. Public access is a huge issue in today's world. Public access to Puget Sound is even bigger. We have one of the most beautiful pieces of water out here in Puget Sound and in beyond areas, and Shelton is an access to that. It's a public access. That marina is a public facility, and I think that we should keep it.
Thank you. Mark and Julie Tucson. Would you like to speak?
Oh, we're just here to observe.
Okay. Mike Bernard.
I'll agree with Mike first. That makes that easy. I'm just,
That's one, just only one. 13,900.
Yeah.
and I would gladly pay $50 because it's a fraction of what I pay for the lease or for the marina. But anyway, my question is about alternative number 2. I understand the plans for fixing the dock, and since I'm on the south dock, it would be really nice to have it fixed, but my main concern is this dramatic rate increase for tenants. You put a number, something like $285 or $295 a month, which would double what I pay, which would make it nearly $600 a month. That $600, unlike Olympia and other places, does not provide access to a restaurant, a fuel dock. It doesn't provide showers, anything, you know, for $600, I'm sure that Swantown is a much better deal. And so you have to consider that. You have to consider that tenants, not only are they gonna pay double, but are they willing to pay that much for nothing, for no amenities? So it's, and it's tough. And one of the reasons I moved 27 years ago or something to Shelton from West Bay was because they were charging way too much money for virtually nothing. But they did have a restaurant, they did have a fuel dock. And so coming to Shelton was great, plus it's closer. But I think that needs to be considered. If you're gonna do the south dock, that's all it's gonna be. And maybe finding, I don't know where you'll find a buyer, but if you found somebody who would come in with the restaurant and maybe fuel facilities and showers and stuff like that, that could go along with what Mike said. Put that into a green, you know, a parkway into town. The biggest complaint I hear from people who come from out of town that are boaters like I am is, what do we do when we get off at the guest dock? There's no indication of how to get to town. There's no transportation to town. There's no nothing. So I'm in favor, yes, Sue?
Can I ask a question of you? So, how do you feel about Long Branch? Because when you go to Long Branch, there's no restaurant, there's no showers, there's no transportation to town. And yet, everybody loves going to Long Branch.
Long Branch is a little different. It's one thing for us from Shelton. We know we're coming back to Shelton. We know if we need fuel, we're gonna get it while we're out there. The Olympia people come out there, they don't have any problem getting fuel. But I think Long Branch, to me, is it's sort of like going camping. You know you're not gonna get the amenities, but you also are not gonna plan to stay there. You're not going there to go to a restaurant. You're not going there to get fuel. It's a different kind of a situation, I think. I think Shelton's a destination. Shelton's at the end of Hammersley. People come all the way down Hammersley, and they don't read their charts. They don't realize it's nothing. I think Shelton should be more of a destination than Long Branch, which to me is a campsite. I don't know. I'm probably.
That's what I'm asking, is
Yeah.
what's the difference between the two that we could, what can we do to make ourselves more desirable than Long Branch and not be just a camping location?
I think it's facilities, and that's not really the port's, you know, I'm not suggesting the port do that, but I'm saying if you do the dock upgrade, that's not gonna help the situation except for the people who are on that dock. And you're right, because you've got that laid out. But I'd like to see something done like Mike was talking about, make it a destination. And maybe a partnership would be the in there. The other thing I was gonna ask is, what do you do when you need, recently people who want permits to do things in this county and city tear their hair out. And if we wanted to do some building and make the Marina a really nice place, how much obstruction would there be from the county and the city as far as doing that? I'm not political, I don't care, but I just know that that's a problem.
In
Luckily,
that
it's
light,
all
we only have to deal with the city.
Yeah.
Only the city.
Only the city. In the past, we had to get 2 sets of permits, one in the county and one in the
And who
city.
knows what's gonna be happening with the
So,
city?
the city
Right.
would, well, hopefully the planning department will stay stable.
Yeah.
For a week
Ecology
or
and
so.
the shoreline is our biggest problem.
Yeah.
I mean, that city is a small problem, ecology and the shoreline and the critical area and
Right.
overwater coverage is like huge, much bigger deal
Right.
than the permitting of the city would ever be.
So anyway, I just think from the from the viewpoint of a guy who's paying for space there, when it said, would you pay a higher mortgage fee, I put maybe.
Right.
Because if it comes up to $600 a month, I'm going, wait a minute, what am I getting for this?
Totally agree.
Thank you.
Dick?
That's Mike.
A short comment, bounced off of what he said, just real short. Sure. The other thing going along with what we're saying back here and the community concept is that the other thing going on, and people should know about, is that the grant money that's being spent to clean up Oakland Bay, that's a huge, huge issue. The Oakland Bay, they're gonna pull all those pilings out, restore Oakland Bay, that whole area. And from a public perception point of view, when that happens, and it's going to happen, they're gonna walk down there and say, my God, this is a beautiful place, with Mount Rainier sticking up in the back. So there's things that are happening and that are coming in the future that.
Yeah, we're partners with that Oakland Bay cleanup, with the tribe,
Yeah.
the whole works.
Yeah, no, you've been working with
Yeah,
the
we're
tribe and the
implementing that
city.
right now.
Yeah.
Well, and just if I can just jump in and say that we still have plans for the boat ramp. That's it's not part of the whole restoration, but it was included in the landscape of it, so it's the ports part of it. And instead of doing a concrete, we're gonna redo that. To engineer, the concrete was gonna be in excess of $100,000, just to engineer it. We had 2 bids on that. So we just decided, in terms of that, because we still want to maintain that and make it better, is we're gonna do it in a gravel still, but it's gonna be better slope, that kind of thing. So we're working still on that. Our engineers are still working on that ramp.
And that's part of the restoration project.
But in addition to connecting,
Right.
nothing's gonna happen down there until a sewer line is run. People talk about restaurants. You're not gonna get a restaurant without a sewer line. That's a huge issue. And so this thing is complex, as you're finding out.
Right.
And I think the public we should do everything we can to let the public know that this is a complex issue that needs everybody's help.
Okay, thank you. Pat Burke.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm not a boat owner. I'm a local business guy here, and when I look at things like this, I look at it from a business guy's point of view. Now, I wasn't aware until I heard some presentations today about the lease issues with the DNR and the lots underneath the water and so on and so forth. And that's a monkey wrench in the works with trying to do a private sale, because what are the chances that you're gonna get the DNR to say, oh yeah, you can have the land back or whatever, probably not gonna happen. But I would say, because they don't give away this kind of property anymore, and if you wanted to start from scratch to put in a marina here, you'd have to go through a shoreline management acts and all the ecology and all the baloney that goes with it, and probably you never get the permission to do it. We all know that anymore. So, in just an overview of what I've heard today, there's probably a couple of ways you might be able to do this. One would be offering for a long-term lease an investor that would come in, and they would have to have a demonstrated ability to invest $8 or $10 million for a 50-year lease with a renewal clause in it, and they would have to present the court a plan of what they wanted to do with it. They would have to present a plan on how they would deal with the folks that are already there and the rental issues that are concerning these guys that own boats. And that would be one way to do it. The other way to do it, maybe, but this is gonna drive the price of everything up for the guys that own the boats, is you're gonna have to make it a real yacht club where you own your own slip. If you need to produce money to repair the docks and do this and that and the next thing, you're gonna have to put value on what all those slips are worth, reasonably, not, you have to figure out a way to value them. And you'd have to start getting your clients to start buying their slips and owning their slips. We got like the Duwamish Yacht Club down on the Duwamish River. My dad used to have a boat he kept down there, and he had to buy the slip, to have the slip. And, people that buy them, if they get too old and they don't wanna use their boats anymore, they can always sublet them to somebody else or whatever, or sell them off. But because of the property problem that's attached to this, it's not gonna be just as easy as putting an ad in the paper or hiring some people or, you know, some people that find headhunters and find people that would invest in something like this. It's gonna make it a lot tougher. So you have to look at a real long-term lease sweetheart deal, but like I say, they'd have to have a demonstrated ability and show you on paper they got the bread to come in and do whatever plan that they show you that they accept. And another thing I would do, find a way, anybody who's gonna do that is gonna wanna expand this thing. They're gonna wanna make it bigger. So do you have the land underneath the permission to park boats and run piers over top of this property that who knows who owns it, or do you have permission to do it? So that's kind of really where I am with that. One of the things I would like to bring up while I'm sitting here is I've been here since, moved my business out here in 1991. I even had an airplane for about 9 years. I kept here at the field, rented a hangar from the county. And one of the things that really bothers me is that, you know, Mason County, we're hurting out here. You know, we're into about the third decade of being impoverished by what the timber industry did to us out here. And we need to get jobs out here. We're all talking about it. We've got a lot of land out there. When you walk out the door, you can see it all sitting there through the years, all the money you got from the federal government. You put in sewers and all, or water and high-speed internet. You got everything out there, but the only thing you don't have out there is tilt-up concrete buildings with 30, 40, 50 employees. And the reason you don't is because a small business, I think I'm a small business guy, I think like a small business guy. Most small business guys, when they hang it out to buy a building or have a building built, when it's paid for, they want to own it. They don't want it reverting back to the ownership of a county or a port authority. That's why you're sitting there with vacant property and there's nobody working in those buildings out there. It is my suggestion that I know you're gonna give me a bunch of flack about this, but it's my suggestion that you contact or send a letter to the director of the Federal Aviation Administration and CC a copy of President Trump and tell him that we live in the middle of a economically distressed area, has been for 30 some odd years. We have all this property we know we could sell off and bring industry and business in here, but we need to be able to sell it. And my suggestion is to tell them that if you will allow us to sell this property off, less reasonable real estate and selling fees, we'll return the money to the federal government. Give the money back to the federal government and put in some good CC&Rs, do some good advertising, and start getting people out here to look at these lots out here, and let's get some tilt-ups up here and get some jobs for people. If anybody's been to a county commissioners meeting, especially during the budget season down there, you wouldn't even believe it. You'd think a fist fight was gonna break out. And I mean, the sheriff, oh man, this guy, he gets ballistic. He does stuff that the commissioners just get really PO'd about. Like pulling off public meetings without them knowing, and doing video presentations without them knowing about it. So we have a real problem. We don't have enough money for our court system's jammed up because there's not enough money. And the sheriff's department had to lay a bunch of people off. You know, fire department's hurting too. I've heard those guys down there crying for more money. And one of the ways we could bring more money in is to see this port develop fully. It's not developed fully, and if this airport is the property of the citizens of Mason County, we need to do something better for the citizens of Mason County. All you do is go down there, walk around behind the post office or up and down Coda Street, and you see all the, you know what I'm talking about. The cigarettes hanging out of their mouths, the backpacks, and, you know, stoned or whatever. That's a terrible thing to see, and that we need to do something about that. And I think, you know, it's thinking outside the box, guys. You know, you're not going to know until you ask. They can't cut your money off for asking them. And I think they should be asked, because if you can do something like that, and like I was saying, is put in a good set of CC&Rs so that if anybody that buys a piece of property up here is going to know that when they put a building in, it's got to be a concrete tilt up so many feet this way, that way. It's got to meet a be a reasonable plan. Make it so that entrepreneurial type people like me will want to come, they want to come to Mason County and buy one of your lots, and it's next to the airport, maybe the guy's got an airplane, so I used to have an airplane, and I kept it up here. And get people excited about it because it's gonna create jobs. I mean, we're not, one of the reasons that I moved to Shelton is because of the proximity to Tacoma. In Tacoma, you can get just about anything industrial that you need. Machinery breaks down, bearings, this, that, the next thing, it doesn't matter, chemicals, industrial chemicals, it's just about all there. And it's just a hop, skip, and a jump, and it's actually closer from here to have an industrial type business like I do than it is to have one down in Chehalis. And if you've seen the growth that's been going on down around there, off the Interstate 5, all the big buildings and stuff going down there, that's got a lot to do with their, when they passed their Growth Management Act, they made room for that kind of growth. And, you know, it was anticipated, there was some fighting about it, people didn't want development. And that's what went on out here until 1996 when they drug us screaming and kicking over the finish line on that deal. So that's one of my main concern to come up, why I came up here today, was to open this discussion with you guys, so maybe you can discuss it later. But this is where we really need some help, and we could do better.
So just a clarification for your knowledge, we actually can sell the property out here at Sanderson, but the money does revert back to the federal
Well,
government.
then
So already it's there.
Well, that's what we should be doing. We should be, like I say, draw up a set of, a nice set of CC&Rs, so that a guy goes in, he knows he's gotta pay so many dollars for this piece of lot, he's gotta know that some guy next door isn't gonna put in some slam bang falling down, you know. You're gonna have to meet it, just like any industrial park, have an industrial park plan, and it'll just, the size of the buildings will vary, the shape will vary on whoever the owner wants to do that. Yeah, and Christie can sell all the property.
Or her agents.
Creations, yeah.
Agents, yeah. Okay, Pat,
Thanks for that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Jim Murphy.
I couldn't wait after you talked. I'm Jim Murphy, I'm a taxpayer, I live in Shelton County, or Mason County, and I use the airport and the marina. And we brought a boat down from Alaska a couple of years ago, got to see a lot of marinas. And ours is kind of at the bottom of the list, but it doesn't have to be that way. I think, first of all, I think you do not sell public property. You don't sell the airport, and you don't sell the marina. You never get it back. You can control it, you can lease it, you know, there are all kinds of business plans you can come up with, but don't sell it. It's ours, you know, it's the only way we're gonna get it. We'll never get it back. Like several guys mentioned, we'll never get that marina back or anything like it. So what do? We can make, I think the marina's been totally ignored. I think that there's a lot that could be done out there, like these guys mentioned, a lot of development could be done, a lot of money could be brought in. And not just the marina itself, but because it's there, because people want to come here, then you get all this other stuff. So my position and my suggestion is do not sell this. Do a commission, get some interested private people and maybe some people on the commission, and come up with a plan. Your plans touch on it. I don't think they're very accurate. I don't think the research has been done to really come up with a cost of doing these things, or maybe the different stages, as one guy mentioned, that you could do it in. But I think we need to have the vision and the momentum to do something for this marina, not just get rid of it, not just ignore it. Same thing for the airport, because I love the airport, I'm a pilot. But you're doing a better job with the airport, but that's because the FAA has a lot to say about it. You know, I'm sure you would have sold it if you could.
Well, there are those that would.
Yeah, and I don't think you should sell any of this stuff, you know. As time goes on, it becomes more important to us, and you can't get it back.
Well, I need to start, if I may say one more thing, anything, you know, I was telling you about developing it, anything within the fenced airport perimeter, that's what it is. It's out, I'm talking about outside the fenced perimeter. That's what I meant to talk about, not the field.
Yeah, I disagree that you can't lease these. I mean, look at Chehalis, they leased all that property down there. Huge amounts of leases. There's a lot of ways you can make, you just have to make it attractive. And like talking about the boat, the slips, you know, you can't charge $600 a month for a slip. Olympia, Swantown's $285. And all the amenities that they have there, so, you know, it has to be reasonable. But there's ways to make this work. We just have to think we want it to work rather than how do we get out of it. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay, well, thank you all for coming. We set out 3 of these meetings so that we can get just this kind of dialogue going, so we can hear from someone. We only hear from a few people most of the time. And there's 3 or 4 guys that show up at a board meeting, or people that show up at a board meeting. And so we wanted to get a broader base of discussion going. And that's exactly what this is. No decisions have been made. We have planned to sell nothing. It was just one of the options. And we're going to keep looking at it. We have one more meeting, next Wednesday?
Coming up Wednesday.
6
Coming up
p.m.
Wednesday.
and it's not going to be here. We thought that the crowd might be larger. It's going to be at the PUD 3, so in the auditorium. So that was changed.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can the marina be expanded beyond the limits of what it is right now?
Not right now?
Right
Not
now?
right now.
Not right now.
What do you mean by
So-
that right now?
Well, I mean, we are,
Irregardless of the money, what I'm saying is the possibility there to go out this way and put another slip down that way.
well, there are
or
possibilities,
extend.
but right now, you know, we're limited by overwater coverage. Part of it from the DNR and ecology, right?
In Army Corps.
Our Army Corps. But
There's
there-
different
yeah.
permits, so there's maintenance permits that allow you to do your work that's on
Right.
your current configuration, and then the permits would expand to be, you know, brand new, and that would, it's definitely a possibility, like everybody brought up, there's Simpson owns some tide lots that we lease, or we have an agreement with them, DNR owns some, you know,
Well, our engineering bid, though, included a new commercial dock up to the north of where the north dock is.
yeah, not this.
No,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
but
That's another.
if
Where the
if
breakwater.
Right, where the little breakwater
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, why would we have them investigate that if there was no
No,
possibility
no,
of
it's,
more?
yeah, you can
Yeah.
do, sure,
Yeah.
it's just all, you know,
If
more
it-
permitting and,
Where if it were, became the case where you're gonna go with a joint venture with somebody that's gonna do a long-term lease, if you had that permission in the bag, that would be an enticement to get somebody to go center and
Yeah.
do the deal.
Right now, we don't have that.
Yeah.
We'd have to apply for it.
Uh-huh.
and I don't know, just speaking freely with Army Corps, if you ever have permission in the bag, so to speak, but we could definitely attempt to, you know, to
Yeah.
talk about it, so.
After next Wednesday's meeting at the PUD, what is the commission's plan how are you going to assess the information you have? And do you have plans to take another step outside of that?
Well, the next step after the 3 meetings is to gather the information together. Also, there's little slips over there, everybody fill them out. We're gonna take all of those together, sit down with staff, and go through them. See where we are, see if we can come up with a consensus of what the attendees want. And that's gonna only be a snapshot because the attendees are only.
But isn't that, if you pass the slips out, 10, 20, 30, 40, do you have enough information? What you've heard here today, what I've heard here today is we want to go beyond what you're planning to do with this presentation. And I'm wondering, when you do get together, will you consider going beyond this presentation here and incorporate some of these ideas so that we can move forward?
Well, I'd say, yeah, the
It's
answer
a
to
bigger,
that.
bigger, makes it a bigger
Yeah,
thing.
the answer to that is with the commissioners, and from this commissioner, yes, I would say we would go forward for that.
I just wondered if you had
Yeah.
a sense of a direction.
Well, we're gonna get together and come up with a sense of direction, and we'll do it in public when we do it.
Okay,
'Cause,
thank you.
You know, no backyard deals.
And these 3 meetings may not be enough, you know, maybe we need to do more meetings, maybe we need to do a mailer, and maybe we need to do a survey, monkey, you know, something that's online that.
And maybe we
more
need to
people-
change direction totally.
Yeah, so I think we're just kind of in that
We're in the
exploration, trying to get people engaged in the discussion, you know, which, you know, some of the thoughts of engaging the city, you know, we've talked to them a little bit in the past, maybe it's time to engage them again. So there's great, every meeting, we're hearing more and more discussion, and I think the biggest, for the port, the concern I would have is the dock's not getting any better. Our guys work constantly to keep band-aiding pieces, and they worked all week on creating, what, 5 new finger floats?
Just over 200 hours in the last
Yeah.
So
couple
maybe-
weeks that we built new fingers
So
for
maybe
the
by the
south
time we
dock.
make a decision, maybe the dock will be built, right? We won't even have the problem, but,
Yeah,
but-
I was just asking that because the public needs to know if there's going to be a little bit more going on here, because I know if I go down to the dock, somebody's gonna say, hey, I hear you stole the Marina.
Right.
yeah,
That's how far it
Yeah.
goes.
Of course.
yeah.
Not yet.
And I think that's the big message, is that we haven't made a decision, you know, it was just discussion, and we need to hear input, and the commission has to really weigh all this out. What really is the answer, and is it even possible to sell? I mean, you know, you're right, you bring up a lot of points. I think, you
Yeah.
know, we need to just explore.
Work on
these.
those 14,000 people out there.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
like the idea of a mailer going out to all of them, you know, and seeing
Well,
what,
anything to get beyond just
Yeah.
the 3
The
meetings.
mailer's a good
Absolutely.
idea, except that it's what?
about 12,000 bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, $12,000 to send out a mailer.
So when you look at it, you could send a mailer, or you could put it on the ballot, either
Yeah.
way, and it
Right.
would be about the same cost, so, you know, you could,
Right.
you know,
All doors are open, we're not, we
Yeah.
haven't closed any door,
so,
we'd like to even open more.
It sounds like the DNR and Simpson and everybody else will be doing the door slamming on you.
Yeah.
Could be, could be, who
Yeah,
knows?
that's why I mentioned a long-term lease to somebody that can demonstrate the ability to upgrade it.
So we aren't as short-sighted as we've talked to them, you know, they all know what's happening here, and nobody, you know, Simpson definitely, as a private company, can do more of what they want than DNR probably, but we've had the conversations, they know, you know, what we're looking at, and nobody has said, you absolutely cannot get out, you know, so I think without a no, we're just exploring.
But if you had a real strong plan, as was suggested, that can change that negotiation in a quick
Sure.
hurry.
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
They also offer private docks too, as well as public docks.
There's 2 private docks out there basically already. Only one little short public dock.
Right.
Right.
Needed Simpson's executive dock
Here,
for their
yeah.
executive yachts that come in.
Right. The 1% can come in.
Yeah, the 1%ers, yeah.
There you go. Thank you all.
Thanks, Doc.
Any commissioners, you got anything you want to say?
No. Thank
Okay,
you
thank you
all
all
for
for
coming.
coming. You know, like in the old days,